This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 5:12 a.m. Eastern. The air is 51 degrees. It tastes like wet copper and cold dust. I'm on 1310 a.m. if you're close enough to hear the ground wave, and on 6.995 megahertz LSB when the sky is kind. If you can't hear me clean, try again when the gray line creeps in. The power in this strip went down around midnight, came back in a shiver at 2:04, then dipped again hard at 3:17. I've got a small inverter running off a car battery, and a second battery on trickle from a solar panel I pulled off a camper shell behind the shop. The shop smells like old oil, mouse droppings, and rubber. I'm in the back office of an auto parts store off Cameron Street. The glass door is chained and crossed with 2 belts from the fan section. I use the manager's chair as a door brace. There's a crack under the door that leaks the smell of rain. The first birds are quiet. That's the part that shook me. When the city sleeps, the birds usually warm the sky with noise. Not today. If you stumbled onto this voice while turning the dial in the dark, stay. Don't waste time on stations that have been replaying the same 3-minute loop about temporary funding talks, and please stand by. You already know this isn't temporary. You felt it yesterday at noon when your bank app froze on the login screen. You felt it when the EBT line went service not available, when the Social Security deposit didn't land, when the DOT sign on I-83 flashed no updates. You saw the White House page carry that single static banner. The federal government is shut down. Not partial, not non-essential. The words were plain. Nobody said how long. Nobody said who decided. Just a flat wall of silence that spread like cold into every system we took for granted. You want the first hint of how we got here? It wasn't one thing. It was the little missed beats. The NOAA radar tiles not loading for an hour last Thursday while that line of storms rolled out of Ohio. The FAA's NOTAM screen timing out. The CDC page 404ing when folks looked for the late-season virus report. A friend of mine, Aaron, who used to do contract IT work for a federal office, told me about purchase orders that came back rejected with account suspended stamps. Not just one agency, 3, then 5, then 11. She said the back-end vendor portal showed invoice status as unknown. She thought it was a caching bug. She put in tickets. No reply. That was the first thing that felt wrong to me. Not the errors, but the silence around the errors. Like a radio room where the headphones are still warm, but there's no breath on the line. By Friday night, you saw what no one wanted to say out loud. Treasury soft-locked. The Federal Register didn't post. National Weather Service alerts kept pushing on the old feed, but the tone headers were blank, and some counties came in as none. FEMA's Twitter page kept an old hurricane header from 2 weeks back. The press offices sent emails that looked like drafts, missing names, missing seals. At 8:43 p.m., the big stations ran a pooled clip with no questions allowed. Then the rooms went dark. A friend called me from D.C. at 10:26 p.m., whispering. He said the Capitol building lights on the east front shut off at once, like a cutscene. He said the generators near the complex didn't hum. He said traffic lights in a 6-block stretch along Independence flickered, then froze on red. He said there were men with yellow vests and rifles around the barricades by 11 o'clock. Not guard uniforms. Not police he recognized. Some kind of contractor patch he'd never seen. I'm not here to tell you a grand theory. I'm here to give you what I see and hear and the pieces people send when their hands shake and they need someone to log the truth. This is a relay point. If my voice reaches you, then you're not alone. If you have a radio, tune to GMRS 462.675, and leave it on. Receive for a minute at the top of each hour. I'll listen and record for 5 minutes. Keep it short when you call. Say your first name, your city, and what you see or need. We don't do politics here. We do what keeps kids fed and trucks moving and people out of harm's way. Let me tell you about the first day it felt like a real break. Saturday morning, I went to the grocery on Paxton. The sliding doors were stuck open. The store had power, a kind of thin brown power that made the lights hum and the coolers sweat. The registers were on, but the card readers were dead. The manager had a hand count line and took cash only. The ATM near the pharmacy said, "Temporarily offline." A woman in a yellow raincoat asked if her WIC card would work if she waited. The clerk didn't know. The manager didn't know. A man in a steel hoodie tried his card 3 times, then slammed it down, then said he'd be right back with cash. He didn't come back. People were patient, then less patient. A guy in line held out a 50 to pay for the woman's milk, and I watched grief edge into his face when she shook her head and said she didn't want to owe a stranger. By noon, the store switched to exact change. By 2, someone rolled down the steel over the cigarette rack and zip-tied it shut. That was the first time I heard a manager tell everyone to keep their AP radios on one channel in case security needed help. That word, security, got loud after that. Saturday night, I tried to pull the National Weather Service broadcast on 162.55. Carrier, but no audio. Just a steady hiss and a hung tail every 30 seconds. Someone in the NOAA office would know what that means. I don't. Sunday morning, the postal truck came down my block, then turned left without stopping. The driver leaned out and told a man on the sidewalk there would be no more packages until the hold clears. The man laughed like it was a joke. Then he didn't laugh. Sunday afternoon, the city put a PDF on its site saying trash pickup would be deferred until staffing returns. There was no date. Sunday night, someone flipped the wrong switch at a substation, or the right switch, I don't know, but the west side went black. It came back in squares, like a chessboard, then went dark again. People drove into intersections, slow and awkward, windows down, radios off, heads out, like they were listening for something that could tell them what to do. By Monday, the stories layered over each other. Banks open, but cash-only withdrawals up to $200. Pharmacies open, but insulin requires exact cash or a post-dated IOU. A daycare posted a handwritten note. No subsidies today. We'll still take your kids if you can bring snacks. Gas stations with bagged pumps that were full yesterday. A hospital nurse told me the elevator badge system was in local mode and every door needed a human to watch it. A friend with a truck who runs a small logistics route said his weigh station was unmanned and the scale's digital screen showed a BIOS error. He drove on. A cop with a tired beard waved him past without looking up. "If you're out there, Rick, I heard your message. Yes, the bridge checkpoint by Steelton is now random. They ask for ID, then wave you through. No, I don't know who the men in the gray SUVs are. The plates are state government plates, but that doesn't tell us much right now. Let me clear space for the first calls. We'll take 3. Keep it tight. Everyone is sharing this line. Maria in El Paso, go." I hear her breathing, then a calm voice like someone who has already cried and can't do it again. She says the border crossing lanes to Juarez were open in the morning and then froze with the arms down. She says the customs booths were dark. People sat in cars for an hour until someone in a crisp shirt came out and told them to go home. She says a woman fainted in the heat. She says the grocery at Zaragoza was selling water with a 2-bottle limit. She says the rumor is that the guard will shut Loop 375 to keep relief trucks free. She wants to know if it's true. I tell her I don't know. I tell her if the trucks move, listen for sirens from a distance, and watch the traffic cameras, if the cameras are still up. I tell her to fill tubs when she can, and to make a list of neighbors with coolers and neighbors with nothing. She thanks me like I did more than sit with her on the line. Next, Trey in Joliet. He talks fast, like a man who has been up on caffeine and fear. He says the steel plant shut overnight with a text from an unknown number that looked official. He says the rail yard gates are locked with chains that weren't there on Friday. He says the payroll app shows pending. He says the sheriff's office voicemail is full. He says a church near him has turned the basement into a pantry, but the shelves are already empty. He asks if it's stupid to drive to Peoria to stay with his brother. I tell him I can't tell him what to do. I tell him if he goes, he needs to go before the morning rush and take back roads. I tell him to bring water, the titles for his car, a paper map, and a list of meds for anyone in the family. I tell him not to push past half a tank if the pumps are bagged. He says, "Thank you." He sounds younger than his words. Third, Ruth in Bangor, Maine. Her voice is thin, older, like wire pulled tight. She says her husband has COPD, and the oxygen delivery truck came on the 12th and not again. She says she called the number and got a fast, busy signal. She says the clinic receptionist told her to come in person, but the clinic doors were locked because they didn't have a guard. She asks if anyone listening has a spare cylinder. I repeat her street. I say I'll relay it at the bottom of the hour on GMRS. Ruth, if you hear this, store the little oxygen you have for night. Sit your husband upright. Use pursed lip breathing. I know you know all this. I'm just saying it so the room feels less empty. Cutting back to the main feed. For the rest of you, keep logging what you see, not what you heard from a cousin's barber. What you see. Some of you keep asking if this is a soft coup, a fiscal cliff dressed up as management, a ransomware burn, or a training exercise that got out of hand. An insider who called herself Rowena told me something that lingers. She said most agencies run on scripts. When the script breaks and there's no permission to write a new one, the rooms go still. She said it doesn't take a villain to stop a nation. It takes a tangle of rules and a small group of people who won't pick up the phone. She said one line that stuck to my ribs. If Treasury can't settle the day doesn't end. I don't know if she's right, but it fits the feel of this hour. No day ended. It just smeared. Don't wait for permission to do simple things that keep you safe. Print copies of your ID and insurance cards if your printer still works. Write down phone numbers. Tape the list inside a kitchen cabinet. If you are on meds, store them in a cool, dark place. Don't hoard. Share if you can. Barter cleanly and with daylight on your deals. If you own a generator, run it outside. If you bought one new yesterday, I know you're excited to try it, but this is not a toy. Carbon monoxide is quiet. It rolls under doors and eats good people in their sleep. If you have no generator and your fridge is failing, cook the food that will rot first. Salt what you can. If you don't know how to can, this is not the time to learn pressure canning on YouTube. Instead, dry meat into jerky if you can. Boil water even if it looks clear. If you live in an apartment, agree on a watch schedule with the people on your floor. Write "neighbors are watching" on a sheet and tape it to the stairwell. It scares the wrong kind and steadies the right kind. Let me tell you what I know about the signals. NOAA weather radio is inconsistent. Some repeaters carry silence, Some carry a loop from last week. Amateur radio is alive, but the nets are messy. The good news is, there are people on 3.969 and 7.238 in the evenings, passing traffic with a care we haven't seen since the last big storms. If you're a new ham, listen first. Learn the cadence. When you speak, give your call, your city, and your report. Skip the jokes. Keep the line clean. GMRS is noisy. FRS is worse. Still, in the noise, you can hear families making plans. Last night I heard a dad in York tell his son who works security to come home before midnight, even if he had to walk. I heard a kid in Carlisle ask if anyone had diapers. A woman in Hershey offered a few. That is what keeps us human. Not some speech, but the small trade of real help. By now you've seen the media blackout. It isn't total, and that might be worse. A few big networks are still on, but they keep reading the same script with the same empty facts. A friend in local TV said their newsroom was told to rely on wire because their State House feed went dead. The wire copy repeats quotes from the same two members of Congress who keep saying, "This is procedural." When transport cops block lanes on 83 for fuel trucks, when the hospital asks for volunteer door monitors, when the sheriff runs a press release through a Gmail address because his official account won't send, you know this isn't procedural. You feel it when you pick up your child and they ask why the crossing guard cried. People want a villain to point to. I understand. It gives us something to aim our fear at. Some say it's a faction that wanted leverage and pulled the stopper. Some say it's a foreign actor. Some say it's math, that the numbers don't add up anymore, and the machine decided on its own to stop spinning until someone feeds it fresh zeros. A man who worked for a federal payments processor told me the word contingency got repeated so much in their meetings that it lost its shape. He said the contingency for a deep freeze was wait. He said the tilt from normal to not normal is never a cliff. It's a slow laydown of rails that lead you to the edge, and by the time you see the drop, your feet are already over it. Let me be plain about my own head. Saturday night I got angry. It came out sideways. I yelled at a man in line who was counting coins too slowly. He was just trying to buy bread. I hated how my voice sounded. Yesterday, I felt hollow and heavy at the same time, like running in a dream when your legs won't move. I wanted to sleep and could not. Then my neighbor, a quiet woman who feeds the stray cats, knocked and asked if I had any extra rice. It snapped me back. I gave her £2 and she gave me 6 tea bags and a look that said, "We're still here." That small trade built a bridge in my chest. Today I feel steadier, tired but clear. It helps to speak to you. It makes the room less small. If this is your first time hearing me, know this. I don't have a sponsor. I don't have a party line. I have a notebook, a radio, a voice, and this little booth that used to sell brake pads. I have a thermos of coffee that tastes like cardboard but does the job. I have a hand-lettered sign on the other side of the door that says, "Please knock, no shouting." I have a list of numbers for shelters that might be open, and clinics that might take walk-ins, and food banks that are trying to stretch. If you're in the Harrisburg area, the church on 3rd near Squealkill is handing out dry goods until they run out. They are not asking for ID. If you need insulin, the pharmacist on Derry Road said if you can show an old bottle with your name, they'll try to honor it. That was yesterday. Things change fast. Bring kindness when you go. It works like currency in a way money isn't working right now. Insiders, if you're listening, I need you too. I know you signed papers. I know you are scared. Use a payphone if you can find one that still rings. Use a burner. Use a neighbor's Wi-Fi and a throwaway. Don't send me state secrets. Send me next week's delivery plan for diesel at the wastewater plant. Send me the hour the new password timer kicks your network into offline mode. Send me the list of which county offices will open their doors with cash only. That helps more than a theory ever will. One more call window. 2 minutes. Keep it tight. Ahmed in Dearborn. He is calm and slow. He says the mosque is feeding people at sunset. He says the parking lot is full of cars with no gas. He says a delivery van brought bread from a bakery 3 miles away that couldn't take cards, so a man donated cash from a wedding fund and told the baker to send bread and a receipt for later. He says police cruisers roll by with lights off. He says a woman tried to call for an ambulance and got, "Please hold." He asks if there's a way to flag a volunteer EMT. If you are in that area and you have a bag and a heart, you know what to do. Bring gloves. Bring water. Don't make promises you can't keep. Jenna in Boise. Her voice is clipped and bright with fear. She says her brother works at a data center and they are running on island mode. She says the backup diesel is low because the delivery contract froze. She says the building is cold on purpose to save load. She says he was told to sleep on the floor. She asks if it's okay to go pick him up. I tell her roads may be calm now, but nerves are short. I tell her to weigh the risk of pulling him off a job that keeps parts of the internet alive. I tell her to tell him to pack a go bag and to choose a rendezvous point that isn't home in case she has to turn around fast. She thanks me, and I can hear her try not to cry. I want to leave you with a few tight steps for the next hours. Write down who on your block needs extra help. Don't trust next door right now. Use your eyes and your voice. If you live near a corner store, ask the owner how to help keep their door calm. If you work a cash register, don't allow a crowd to lean in. Keep a line. Put tape on the floor like the old days. If you manage a place with a bathroom, keep the bathroom open. It buys peace. If you are alone, tape a note inside your window that says, "Radio on 13:10 a.m. at 5:17 after," so someone knows where your ears are. If you drive by a downed light, treat it like a four-way. If someone honks at you, let them pass. Pride is a rich man's sport. We're not rich this week. To the people sending maps and spreadsheets and breakpoints and "here's how the payments fan out, thank you." To the ones asking if this will end by payday, I can't tell you that. I can tell you the machine we built is wide and tall and made of many rooms that need light and heat and alarms that shout when something goes wrong. The light is dim. The heat is low. The alarms are quiet. We are the alarm now. We are the people in the hall knocking on doors. It's 5:49 a.m. I'll hold the GMRS window open on the 7s. If you're passing through Harrisburg and you have extra AA batteries, tape a note to the door with a time to meet, and I'll crack it for a handoff. Don't yell. If I don't answer, it means I stepped away to the roof to check the sky. I'm still here. You're still here. Our plan is simple. See clearly. Share cleanly. Help locally. If you can hear me, you're part of the net now. Speak plain. Write it down. Pass it on. This is still Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 7:03 a.m. Eastern. The chill hasn't lifted, and the streets outside sound like they've been muffled under a thick blanket. No horns, no commuter rush. Just the occasional scrape of tires and a far-off siren that doesn't move closer or fade away, like it's caught in a loop. My hands shake less now, but I haven't had more than an hour of broken sleep. I'm running on coffee grounds boiled twice, and prayers that the inverter doesn't cut out mid-sentence. I need to put down what I saw last night. Around 11:40, I stepped out to the roof of this auto shop. The city was mostly dark, but I could see the Capitol dome faint against the clouds. No lights. None. You ever see a landmark you've lived with your whole life look like it's been hollowed out? That's what it felt like the center of the map was erased. A few blocks away, I saw the flare of something burning in a barrel. A small group circled it. Couldn't tell if they were warming their hands or burning papers. A dog barked. Then it went quiet again. The radio chatter is thick with fear now. People keep asking when checks will clear, when gas cards will scan, when the signal from NOAA or FEMA will come back steady. They're still waiting for the official voice, but all I hear is static or those pre-recorded lines that never answer the real question. What do I do right now? Where I stand with the people I care about? So I'll tell you what to do. Stay calm in the morning hours. That's when most of the bad nights settle down, when nerves are dull. Use that window to refill water, cook what you can, check on neighbors, tape notes. Don't wait for noon. By afternoon, people will have walked circles around their problems and tempers will be shorter. I've been piecing scraps from insiders who dare to whisper. One man, he claimed to be a low-level staffer at Treasury before the doors locked, told me he saw memos that weren't memos at all. Just empty shells sent to agencies, no amounts, no instructions, just headers. He said the system couldn't validate disbursements because the core ledger was in suspend mode. That's how he put it. Suspend mode. Like your laptop when you close the lid. He swore someone did it on purpose. He also swore there's no button to bring it back until enough people sign off in the right order. But those people? He didn't know where they were anymore. Phones dead. Offices shuttered. Cards not scanning. I can feel the change in my own voice. 2 days ago, I thought I was just reporting outages. Yesterday I thought I was holding ground. Today it feels like I'm talking from a lifeboat, waving a flare, hoping someone else waves back. My words are getting heavier, and I can't tell if it's the fatigue or the truth pressing in. Still, I'll keep talking, because when I stop, it means the silence has won. We'll take calls, keep them short. Name, city, what you see. Raymond in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You're on. He says the banks in his part of town put paper over the glass doors, but the ATMs outside are still lit. People are punching numbers, but the slots spit no cash. He said a man hit the machine with a tire iron until sparks popped, then walked away with nothing. He says traffic lights on Admiral are stuck blinking red. He says a police cruiser rolled by, windows up, didn't stop. He wants to know if it's like this everywhere. I tell him yes. It's like this everywhere. Then Paula, in Richmond, Virginia. Her voice is thin, angry. She says the local news station hasn't updated since Friday. She says the grocery chain shut all but 2 stores, and the one near her had armed men in dark uniforms at the door, letting people in 20 at a time, cash only. She says someone shouted about ration cards, but no one official answered. She asks if she should leave town. I tell her leaving without a place to land is risk. Highways are open, but fuel is scarce, and panic moves faster on the road. I tell her to build a plan with neighbors first. A group is harder to push around than one family in a sedan. Last, Isaac in Fort Collins, Colorado. He says the university servers blinked out, students locked out of portals, stipends vanished. He says professors stopped showing to class. He says his sister's research grant bounced, and her card read, insufficient funds. He says no one from the administration has answered emails in 48 hours. He asks if schools are closing everywhere. I tell him yes. Some already have. I tell him to treat the campus like a city that's losing its lights, safe in corners, unsafe in shadows. He says thank you, but his voice cracks when he does. I'll stop the line there. The stories weigh heavy, and I don't want to bury you under them all at once. It's 7:26 a.m. here. The clouds are low, flat. The world feels pressed down. If you're hearing me, log what you see, keep your group close, and remember, if no one official is coming, then it's us. We are the voice in the dark. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. 8:12 a.m. The sun is up, but it feels like the light isn't reaching the ground. The streets look washed out, gray, hollow. I stood by the front window of the auto shop for a while, just staring out at Cameron Street. A few cars rolled slow, like people were trying to conserve gas, or maybe like they didn't know where they were going. A city bus came by, but it had only 3 passengers, all sitting apart. No one waved. No one even looked up. The driver's face was blank, staring dead ahead, like the whole world was a stop he didn't want to miss. The wind smells like wet stone, like basements that never dry out. When I stepped outside for a minute, the air carried no sound of work, no hammering, no saws, no leaf blowers, no school bells. The noise of everyday life is gone. That absence is heavier than any explosion could be. Silence isn't just quiet. It's a warning, and it's spreading like a sickness. Let me tell you what came over the bands this morning. Around 7:40, a man calling himself Westgate broke into the amateur traffic on 7.238. He said he was relaying from contacts in New York City. He claimed the MTA had shut the subway gates for unpaid service credits. He said trains were on the rails but locked down, crews sitting inside with nowhere to go. He said turnstiles were jammed, and scanners flashed invalid people forced doors open but found no one to stop them. No police, no staff. Just silence and the hum of trains that wouldn't move. I can't confirm it, but it fits the pattern. Infrastructure without funding doesn't stop in one violent crash. It stalls. Systems hang like frozen screens, and when that happens, people start to push, and the pushing turns dangerous. An old contact in Baltimore, she used to be a contractor at the port, sent me a voice clip. Cargo is locked behind gates. Cranes are idle. She said there were 3 ships waiting, then 7, then 12. All stacked offshore because clearance codes didn't go through. Dock workers showed up, clocked in on paper, and were told to go home. They said customs had no clearance authority anymore. You want to measure the collapse? Count the ships standing still. Closer to home. Hershey shut down its public works yard last night. I heard it on a GMRS call at 5 a.m. Trucks didn't roll. Streetlights flickered and died in 2 neighborhoods. A man said he saw kids playing with candles on porches because the houses were blacked out. If you're hearing this and you've still got power, use it wisely. Charge every battery. Print out maps and phone numbers. Once your screen goes dark, you'll wish you had something you could hold. I want to share one of the strangest reports yet. A caller who wouldn't give his name said he worked in the tunnels under D.C. He claimed that on Saturday morning, secure doors were propped open with fire extinguishers because badge readers wouldn't verify anyone. He said staff were ordered to stay inside the rooms where they worked, not to cross to other sectors. He said armed contractors, not Secret Service, not Capitol Police, stood at the choke points. If that's true, then even the center of power is fractured, and that fracture is spilling down every street in the country. I'll open the line again. 3 calls, short and tight. David in Sacramento, California. He says the DMV shut down completely. People lined up at 5 a.m., but the doors never opened. A woman banged on the glass until her knuckles bled. No staff inside, no signs, just locked doors. He said cars began circling gas stations like vultures, looking for pumps that weren't bagged. He said his neighbor has a gun taped behind his front door now, where anyone can see it. Next, Alicia in Newark, New Jersey. She says grocery stores are bare on the east side. She saw a man selling bread out of a van for $20 a loaf. She said a group of teenagers followed the van, waiting for him to stop. She said the van didn't stop. She asks if she should leave the city. I tell her only if she has family outside and a clear road. Otherwise, hunker down, pool resources, and keep watch. Moving blind is worse than staying put. Last, Carter in Des Moines, Iowa. He said the State House lawn is empty, no guards, no staff. He said someone planted a sign that read, "Closed until funded." He laughed when he said it, then stopped laughing halfway through. He says banks there are limiting cash to $50 per customer. He says farmers at the feed store were shouting about seed loans frozen, planting delayed. He asks if spring will come without seed. I don't have an answer for that. It's 8:34 a.m. My hands are cold on the mic. My throat feels scraped raw from talking so long. But I'll keep on, because if we fall silent now, then the last threads holding us together go slack. If you hear me, write down what's happening around you. Tell me what you see, not what you hope, not what you fear, what you see. That's the only truth we can stand on right now. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 9:06 a.m. Eastern. The gray outside hasn't broken into sun. The clouds hang low like a ceiling you could almost reach if you climbed a ladder. The air is damp, heavier than it should be, and every sound seems sharper because there aren't many left to hear. I keep catching myself listening for traffic that never comes. You don't realize how much of life is built on background noise until it's gone. I've been writing notes in a spiral pad, the kind kids use for school. Each line is a marker. Who called, what they said, where it happened. It looks like a puzzle I'll never finish, a map of a country folding in on itself piece by piece. The ink smudges when my hand sweats, but I keep at it. This is the only record I trust anymore. This morning, just after 8:40, I caught a faint AM signal bleeding in from Pittsburgh. It was a short broadcast, broken, but I heard a man say the word rationing. He repeated it 3 times. Then he said, fuel depot closed and armed security. His voice was drowned out by static before I caught the rest. If you're in western Pennsylvania and can confirm, try to relay it. That word, rationing, is a line in the sand. Once it spreads, people will stop trusting their neighbors and start guarding their shelves like bunkers. A contact of mine in Philly, a retired city worker, said the transit police locked turnstiles at Suburban Station. He said trains were running empty, doors closed, engines idling, but no passengers allowed to board. He guessed it was an attempt to conserve resources, but no one explained anything. Commuters stood on the platforms until one by one they walked out, muttering, some crying. The idea of trains moving with no people is haunting. It's like the city itself is being evacuated, but not the people who live in it. Closer to me, on Paxton Street, 2 shops had their glass broken last night. I went to check. One was a pawn shop. The other was a payday loan office. Both empty, papers scattered, registers pried open. No police tape, no one standing guard. Just silence, and a crow perched on the roof watching me from above. A neighbor who walked by said the pawn shop had been looted, not for guns or gold, but for canned goods someone had in the back. That stuck with me. People are past looking for wealth. They're looking for calories. Insider chatter trickled through at dawn. One message said the Federal Reserve's emergency meeting Friday night failed quorum. No signatures, no authority. That explains why transfers froze. Another message from someone in the Postal Service claimed their internal network is running in local mode only. No national routing. That means if your letter gets mailed in Harrisburg, it might reach someone in Harrisburg. But if it needs to leave the county, dead stop. It's like the country's nervous system has been cut into local nerves, twitching alone with no brain to guide them. I'll open lines again. 3 calls, short, plain. Eddie in Detroit. He says auto plants have gone dark. He said workers were told federal contracts suspended indefinitely. He says trucks lined up outside, then left empty. He says his cousin went to the credit union and was told withdrawals capped at $100. He asks if this is a repeat of 08. I tell him it's worse, because this isn't just money. It's everything tied to it, all at once. Then June in Tampa. Her voice is faint. She says traffic lights on Dale Mabry are all out. Cars creep through with hands waving out the windows. She says the hospital has guards at the entrance, turning away anyone without cash for service. She said she saw a woman with a broken arm cry on the sidewalk because the machine that printed intake forms wouldn't boot. June asks if the Red Cross will come. I tell her I haven't heard their voice on any channel since Saturday. Last Mark in Boise. He said the courthouse locked at noon yesterday. He said people stood outside waving papers. Divorce, custody, property deeds. Like they were begging the walls to see them. He said the flag above the courthouse flew at half-mast, but no one knew who lowered it. He said his bank told him, check again next week. He asks if there will be a next week. I pause too long before answering. Then I tell him, yes, there will be. Because we're still breathing, still talking, still sharing. That counts for something, even now. I feel my own edge fraying. My head is heavy, my tongue dry. I haven't eaten more than a protein bar in the last 24 hours, saving what I can. The coffee is thin, bitter, but it keeps me upright. I keep thinking about the Capitol dome last night, how dark it looked, how wrong, like a lighthouse gone blind. The symbols cracked, and when the symbol cracks, faith follows. It's 9:29 a.m. Eastern. I'll keep holding this frequency until the inverter dies. If you're out there, keep your radios warm, your water clean, your lights low at night. This is Noah Briggs. I'll stay on the line. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. 10:11 a.m. Eastern. The sky's still overcast, but the air feels heavier now, like it's pressing down on the roofs. I just opened the front door of the shop and looked out onto Cameron Street. Wet blacktop, no buses anymore, no city trucks. A single pickup rolled by slow, its bed stacked with blue 5-gallon water jugs. The driver didn't even look at me. He had a map taped to the inside of his windshield. The inverter gave a hiccup at 9:54 and I thought I'd lost it, but it came back. I'm switching between car batteries to keep this signal alive. I'm still on 1310 a.m. if you're local, and I'll open the GMRS 462.675 window at the top of the hour. If I cut off mid-sentence, give me a minute to swap the clamps. It feels like every hour the circle of normal shrinks. At first it was federal paychecks and big contracts. Then it was state offices. Now it's down to the basics. Water, food, medicine. A man on the ham bands out of St. Louis said city water there went cloudy overnight. No warning, no boil order posted. He said people lined up at a community center for bottled water, but the supply ran out by dawn. A woman in Duluth said her pharmacy put up a cardboard sign. Cash only, no exceptions, limit 2 per customer. She said an old man with heart medicine broke down crying at the counter. She couldn't even comfort him because the guards ushered everyone out. I've started to realize how fragile the small things are. This morning I boiled the last coffee grounds twice, poured the weak liquid into a jar, and told myself it was tea. There's still a kind of rhythm in it. Sip, breathe, talk. But it's thinner than it was yesterday. More insider whispers. One came from someone who used to work with USDA inspectors. He said all meat inspections were suspended until funding restored. He said trucks of perishables are being turned back or left at depots. That means grocery store coolers will empty faster than people expect. Another came from someone in FAA operations who said NOTAM updates are frozen because the servers they use for coordination are offline for maintenance, but no one authorized the maintenance. If that's true, flights will be allowed at pilot's discretion until fuel runs out. It's one thing to watch banks freeze. It's another to watch food, water, and air travel unravel. These aren't cracks, they're fractures. I'll open the line. 3 calls. Stephanie in Portland, Oregon. She says the bridges are still open, but checkpoints have popped up on I-5, state security trucks blocking lanes, waving some cars through, turning others back. She said her debit card worked at a corner shop at 6 a.m., but the machine was in offline mode, and the clerk wrote her name on a pad. She says it feels like the 90s again, but with more guns. Then, Jerome in Amarillo, Texas. His voice is rough, like he's been shouting. He says the cattle auction canceled mid-sale. He said the auctioneer simply walked out, no announcement. He says the power at the feedlot flickered twice. He says everyone's worried about feed deliveries. He asks if he should drive north to Kansas for supplies. I tell him if he does, plan his fuel stops carefully. Bagged pumps everywhere now. Last, Priya in Baltimore. Her voice is steady, but I can hear a baby crying in the background. She says the port is locked up. Cranes idle, ships waiting offshore. She said her husband's shift was canceled with no pay and no date to return. She asks if this is a strike. I tell her it isn't a strike if everyone's been sent home at once. It's 10:34 a.m. Eastern. My throat is dry, but my hands have stopped shaking. Maybe this is what numb feels like. Or maybe this is resolve. I can't tell yet. All I know is, as long as the mic works, I'll keep talking. If you can hear me, write down who you can count on, where you can get water, and which doors are still open. Those 3 things will keep you alive longer than any rumor or theory. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. 11:04 a.m. Eastern. The clouds have thickened and it's starting to drizzle now. Thin, cold drops that slide down the window glass like sweat. They leave little trails of dirt behind, showing just how long it's been since anyone washed the outside of this shop. The smell of damp cardboard and oil inside is stronger than before. My breath fogs a little when I lean too close to the window. It feels like the world is trying to cool itself down even while people's nerves are heating up. At 10:47, I stepped out back to check on the solar panel. The alley was empty, except for a tipped-over shopping cart and an old man in a windbreaker, walking slow, his hands in his pockets. He didn't look at me, just shuffled by. His shoes were soaked. When I called out to ask if he was okay, he didn't answer. He wasn't deaf. He just didn't want to speak. That's what's spreading now as fast as hunger. Quiet. People are starting to close in on themselves. The bands are noisier, though. 7.238 lit up with a group out of Ohio saying the Guard has moved trucks to protect water depots near Columbus. No official announcement, just sightings of convoys. A man in Louisville said his friend in state government texted him, "Stay home. No shipments today," before his phone went dark. Another in Phoenix said the hospital where his sister works is running on cash-only triage. 2 guards at every entrance. Paramedics turning back patients who can't pay. Here's something new. First hint of a media fracture. A local affiliate out of Kansas City ran a banner last night saying, "Federal systems shut down, rationing possible." It disappeared from their website within an hour. A screenshot is floating around ham nets. That's how truth moves now. Screenshots on radios, rumors on paper. Insider tip from someone calling herself Maple. She said USDA inspectors were ordered to stand down on all non-critical checks. That means meat, dairy, produce, all going out with no oversight. Maple said, "If you're eating fresh meat, cook it until it falls apart." That's her exact line. That's not panic. That's a practical step. I'll open calls. 3. Kevin in Minneapolis. He says his bank shut off ATMs entirely. Doors locked. He saw a line of people at a grocery store being let in 5 at a time, while a man with a rifle watched from the door. He said a mother tried to hand over a benefits card. The clerk shook his head. The guard told her to leave. Kevin said he's never seen a city this quiet at noon. Then Denise in Charleston, West Virginia. She said the state police are guarding a fuel depot. She said they aren't wearing name tags. She said a convoy of semis rolled in at dawn but left empty. She said she's been boiling water from a creek for her kids. She asks if that's safe. I tell her, bring it to a full rolling boil, 3 minutes minimum. Pour through a clean cloth. Let it cool covered. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. Last, Owen, in Phoenix. He said he's an EMT. He said their dispatch has been offline mode since Sunday. He said calls come in by text, but they don't know which ones are real. He said his crew drove to 3 addresses yesterday and found nothing but locked doors and people peeking through blinds. He asks if anyone else is seeing this kind of ghost dispatch. Yes, Owen, they are. It's 11:29 a.m. Eastern. The drizzle has turned to a steady cold rain. The roof creaks when it hits hard. My hands smell like metal from the battery clamps. My coffee's gone, but my voice is steady. If you're still listening, don't panic. Don't wait for someone in a suit to tell you what's next. Look out your window. Talk to the people on your block. Trade what you can't use. Hide what you can't spare. Keep radios low and lights dim at night. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 12:03 p.m. Eastern. The rain hasn't let up. It's steady now, drumming on the roof like knuckles on a table. The street outside looks darker than it should for midday, like the light's been dimmed, like someone's hand is on the dimmer switch of the sky. Water runs along the gutters, carrying leaves, scraps of paper, and one empty soda can that's been rattling back and forth for the past 10 minutes. No city crews are out to clear the drains. The runoff will back up soon. Another quiet system collapsing, one storm at a time. I stepped onto the roof before sitting down again. From up there, you can see blocks of Harrisburg lying still, like they've been painted gray. Windows are shut. No one's cutting grass. No school buses honking. A single police cruiser rolled past. No lights. No siren. The officer inside had his head leaned back, like he hadn't slept. You want to know what the collapse of social order looks like? It's not chaos at first. It's exhaustion wearing a badge. More chatter on the bands. A group in Chicago said power is sectoring. Entire blocks going dark for hours at a time, while others stay lit. No warning, no rotation schedule. People there are calling it brownout roulette. A woman in Atlanta reported all the traffic lights along Peachtree went dark at once. Drivers inched through like it was a funeral procession. She said she saw one man get out of his car, wave the others through, then collapse on the curb crying. An insider who called himself Ashwood left me a coded note last night. He said Social Security systems are halted at verification layer. That means even if checks were approved, they can't be released. He wrote, "No authentication, no money." He also claimed Department of Defense contracts are locked in queue, thousands deep, with no payment authorization. That means contractors aren't getting paid. That means supply chains for everything military, from boots to bullets, are pausing too. Another insider, a woman who signed off as Delta, said Treasury's internal chat servers were locked yesterday. She said only top-tier admins can access, and lower staff were told to go home until further notice. She told me, "There is no one at the wheel, Noah. No one. Let's take calls." 3. Maria in San Antonio. Her voice is hoarse, like she's been yelling. She says the local grocery opened its doors but only accepted exact change. She said a fight broke out at the meat counter when two men reached for the same pack of chicken. She said security dragged them out, but no police came. She asks if it's like this everywhere. I tell her yes, Maria, everywhere. Then Adam in Spokane. He said the hospital there turned off its main entrance lights. He said staff come and go through a side door now, guarded by two men with rifles who don't wear hospital badges. He said his cousin works inside and says the staff cafeteria is out of food and patients are being told to bring meals from home. He asks if that's legal. I tell him laws don't matter when the systems meant to enforce them are dark. Last, Jamal in Brooklyn. He says the subway gates froze yesterday. He says people forced them open, trains idled, no staff on board. He said he walked the tracks from one station to another with a group of strangers because they didn't trust the streets. He said they saw a train operator sitting in the cab, engine humming, eyes forward, not moving, not answering, like a statue. Jamal said it scared him more than anything else. I don't blame him. Machines running empty in a city of silence. That's the stuff nightmares are made of. It's 12:31 p.m. Eastern. The rain is still falling, steady, cold. I can feel it creeping into the walls of this shop. My fingers are stiff. My voice is dry. But I'll keep the mic hot as long as the batteries hold. If you're listening, write down your lifelines. Who you trust. Where you can get clean water. Which doors still open for trade. That's your survival map now. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 1:07 p.m. Eastern. The rain hasn't let up, but it's thinner now. More like mist clinging to everything, soaking into clothes, dripping off the gutter corners. The road outside looks slick and black, reflecting the dim sky like a cracked mirror. A dog padded down the sidewalk a few minutes ago, wet fur hanging in strips, head low. No collar. It stopped at the pawn shop door across the street, sniffed, then kept walking. Even the animals seem lost. I keep glancing at the clock, not because the time matters anymore, but because it keeps me anchored. Hours still pass. Days still turn. That's something, even if everything else is unraveling. The chatter on the hamnets has taken on a sharper edge today. Around 12:40, a man from Dallas broke in. He said his bank branch locked its doors with customers inside. Staff walked out the back while the crowd banged on the glass. He said cops showed up, but not to help, just to stand guard outside while the branch emptied. Another voice from Cincinnati said the power company posted a notice. Due to funding lapse, Services may be intermittent. Services. That's their word for heat, light, refrigeration. Intermittent. Like breathing optional. An insider who called himself Northwood sent me a coded email last night through a proxy server. He claimed the White House Situation Room hasn't run a live press call in 4 days. He said the president is still in D.C., but not in public view. He said senior staff are scattered, unreachable, or silent. I don't know if it's true, but silence at the top trickles down fast. I'll open the call window. 3 lines. First, Helen in Denver. She said city buses stopped running at noon sharp. No warning, no signs, just doors closed and drivers gone. She said people stood at the stops staring at the buses, like they couldn't believe the wheels weren't turning. She said she walked 5 miles home and saw 3 grocery stores shuttered, handwritten signs taped up. No power, no service. Next, Marcus in Little Rock. His voice was low, steady. He said the state capitol building lights have been out since Sunday night. He said there are men in black SUVs parked on every corner nearby. No plates, no insignia. He said he asked one for information and got told to move along. He said it feels like the city is being watched by strangers. Last, Connie in Fresno. She sounded exhausted. She said her local clinic refused to see her son because they couldn't process Medicaid without federal systems. She said she offered to pay cash and the clerk told her, "We're not authorized to take it." She said she begged. She said the guard put his hand on his weapon and told her to leave. She asked me what to do. I didn't have an answer, and I hated that silence. It's 1:32 p.m. Eastern. The mist has settled into the cracks of the road. The whole block feels damp, heavy, weighed down. My notebook is filling faster than I thought it would. Page after page of people asking questions no one in power will answer. If you're listening, don't wait for orders from the top. There may not be any coming. Build your circles local. Protect your water. Share when you can. Hide when you must. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. 2:02 p.m. Eastern. The rain has slowed, but the air is thick, heavy with that smell of wet asphalt and rusted metal. A delivery truck, empty, doors wide open, rolled by slow at 1:48. No markings, no driver visible through the glass. It kept moving until it disappeared past the corner. Not a single horn, not a single shout. Just the quiet rumble of tires on wet pavement. Then gone. That's the city now. Echoes of motion without direction. I've been scanning across AM, FM, and the ham bands. Most of it is static. Some of it is looped recordings, but a handful of live voices break through. Around 1:15, I caught a man on 3.969 talking about DC. He said he drove past the Capitol this morning. The entire west front lawn is blocked by unmarked barricades, the kind used for parades, except no one's smiling behind them. He said he saw maybe 24 men in dark gear, no insignia, no names, rifles slung low, no guard patches, no police, just quiet uniforms, standing still like statues. He swore he saw one of them take pictures of license plates as cars passed. He turned around fast, said the whole scene felt wrong. Another voice on the nets, this one out of Kansas, said their state unemployment offices shut their doors with no notice. He said a crowd gathered, some waving papers, some shouting. Then a pickup pulled up with 2 men inside who told the crowd to go home until further funding. He asked them who sent them, and they wouldn't answer. He said the office windows were dark, papers stacked high behind the glass, and the flagpole out front had no flag. An insider tip slid to me early this morning from someone in Homeland Security. She signed her note, Cora. She wrote that field agents were told not to expect payroll, and to use discretion in all enforcement. That phrase, use discretion, can mean anything. It means law applied by mood, by the man holding the badge or the rifle. It means law is gone, replaced by judgment calls in parking lots and alleys. Let's take the calls. 3. Sam in Louisville. His voice was raw, urgent. He said the gas station near him limited people to 2 gallons each, cash only, exact change. He said people lined up around the block, clutching gas cans. He said someone tried to cut in line, and fists flew. He said the clerk barricaded the door from the inside. He said he saw one man pour gasoline into a milk jug and shake it like he'd just bought gold. Next, Teresa in Raleigh. She spoke soft, like she didn't want to wake someone sleeping nearby. She said the grocery near her home bagged every shelf. Milk, eggs, bread, bagged and taped with notes that read, "Inventory frozen." She said the manager whispered that shipments are stalled at the federal level. Teresa said she saw a mother hand her daughter an apple in the parking lot, and the girl clutched it like a treasure. She asked me if she should leave for the countryside. I told her, only if she has food and fuel waiting there. Otherwise, stay with her neighbors. A city in silence can still be safer than a road with desperate strangers. Last, Frank in Houston. His voice trembled. He said the hospital his wife works at has been turning away patients unless they bring envelopes of cash. He said his wife begged the administrators to help a child with asthma, and the answer was no. He said she came home shaking. He asked if this is legal. I told him the same thing I told Adam earlier. It's not about legal anymore. It's about survival, about who's holding the keys when the machines are dark. It's 2:34 p.m. Eastern. My throat is raw, but my pen keeps moving. The notebook is filling with stories, each one heavier than the last. The rain has stopped outside, but the silence hasn't. The silence has weight now, heavier than the clouds. If you can hear me, remember, watch your water, guard your food, and write down the truth as you see it. That truth may be the only thing we have left when the rest goes dark.